I suffered so much before I discovered this opening for black. Like against e4, I had no idea what am I supposed to play, because all of the normal openings, they require you to memorize so much stuff, and I always hated it. It wasn't for me. But once I have started to play this opening, the Philidor defense, my entire chess completely changed, and I was able to crush so strong guys. Like here, I'm beating 2700 rated opponent as black with 100% accuracy, all thanks to this opening. Let me show you. So I'm playing d6 first, then I play knight f6. The beauty of it, first of all, is that I can play it against everything and against anyone. If you are 1000 ELO rated player, if you are 2000 ELO rated player, you can play it and you're going to be good to go. But even me playing against the best guys in the world, I'm gonna show you the next game where I crushed number 92 in the entire world with this specific opening. But first, this game, 100% accuracy, that's mind-blowing. So first d6, then knight f6, and then you always play e5. Basically, this is the starting position of the Philidor defense, and whenever you can play e5, you are playing e5. You are never afraid of that. I have made a few videos where I play specifically this line they take, and this endgame is absolutely great for black. This is my favorite variation. I win nearly every game. Please take a look at those games if you are somehow not sure how to proceed here. But my opponent is very advanced. He tried the main and arguably the best line, knight s3, and then he played bishop to c4. I played bishop e7. Now, there are some fancy sacrifices here. So up to here, you always and always make those moves. He can sacrifice a piece, but it's never anything good. I'm gonna just show you one line here. This knight is coming and it seems like you're in trouble, but you are getting a lot of counterplay. And in fact, if they take this rook, they're in huge trouble after queen takes g2. All you need to do is just bring your pieces here. Knight goes to e5, threatening knight f3. This is absolutely collapsing. Then after f3, the only move you play knight h5 and bishop h4. Okay, that is too deep into the analysis. By the way, I have created an entire course based on this Philidor defense where I cover all of these lines and of course thousands more in all details, so you know absolutely everything you need to know to crush everyone with this opening. Okay, anyway, instead of that, my opponent played castles here, the main line, no problem, I castle as well, and the move c6. Those 7 moves, basically everything that you need to remember. And you don't need to like memorize that against a specific move from your opponent or move order, you need to play this thing, and if he plays something else, you need to play this. In like 99% of the situations, this is exactly the 7 moves that you're gonna play in every single game in this opening. So it's so amazing. And an additional bonus is your opponent as white sees this position like 1 time out of 1,000. So he doesn't have that much experience, he doesn't understand all of the right ideas, especially if you're under 2000 ELO. But you, on the other hand, you see it every single time. So you know everything about this position. Of course, when you start, it's a little bit more complicated, but with the time, you're gonna gather so much experience, and my 10-day opening master course, of course, will speed run you through this process. And after the course, you like don't need any opening knowledge whatsoever for many years to come. This is why I love this course so much. I have invested a year of my time and work into that. So if you're interested, the link would be in the description. But this is everything you need to know. They play h3. I mean, my opponent is very advanced. He's 2700 on chess.com, yet he lost miserably in just 20 moves. Because I'm playing here knight to b6. This is a very cool move. I'm attacking that bishop, so you don't have time to like take this guy. Yes, you can do that, but then I get a pair of bishops. The material is equal. Everything is great. You have achieved your goal. Remember that if you are playing as black, equalizing the position is always the first step that you are trying to achieve. My opponent plays bishop a2, which is the main move here. It seems like bishop b3 is more reasonable, right? But I'm going to explain in a second why they go specifically to a2. It's because I play knight to d7 here. I'm protecting that pawn, but it's a multi-purpose idea. After bishop b3, the main line, I take here on d4 to make space for my knight on c5. And that is exactly what happened here. He takes with the knight, main line, and this knight comes to c5. Now, hopefully you understand why this bishop went to a2 instead of b3. On b3 it would be under attack, and either you need to waste another tempo, or you have to allow me to play knight takes b3 and get a pair of bishops. Now, most of your opponents, even if they do get to this position, they wouldn't know that the bishop is supposed to go to a2, and already here you will have a very pleasant position. Anyway, my opponent is very strong. He plays the best line, queen to h5, because I also attacked this pawn on a4. Notice, two of my knights are attacking it. But white has no time, and for your opponents it will be so difficult to understand. You have to forget about that pawn and try to create counterplay. That's what my opponent tried to do, but it didn't help him. I'm taking this pawn anyway, takes. Now he plays knight to f3. Very tough, like you really have to know it to be able to play it, because it's not that intuitively easy. Like the knight goes back, then to go forward. I play knight to c5, he goes knight to g5, threatening all of that. Seems like I'm in trouble, but I am not, because again, this is the only opening I play. I have seen this position hundreds of times, I have played it in my tournaments, so I know everything about it. And the more you're gonna play this opening, the more experience you're gonna gather, the easier it's going to be for you as well. And of course, the more points you're gonna score with this opening. Takes, queen goes to c7, and now my opponent plays bishop f6. This is a blunder, but let me explain you why. So here he is like, I have those two bishops. It seems like I'm active, everything is great, but my opponent is a pawn up. Me, in this case. I just want to play bishop e6, basically against anything you do here. Let's say you play rook to d1, seems like a very normal move. I just play bishop e7, and feel free to prove that you have enough compensation for that pawn. As long as the attack is over, I feel very, very comfortable. So my opponent is like, I have to attack, I have to create those checkmating ideas. Notice that I have 2 minutes 45 seconds out of 3 minutes. It is move number 18, and I have spent only 15 seconds up to here. Why? Because I played this opening so much, I have so much experience, and that's exactly the results you're gonna get if you do the same. And I wanted to make this video to show you that this opening works on all levels. Yes, if you're low rated, it would be perfect for you, but even if you go up, you still can use it successfully, because some people have written in the comments, well, but this opening, if white plays good, it's just a bad opening, it's so passive, your pieces don't work, and blah, blah, blah. Well, you see here that the pieces spring to life, that it's very solid, that you can outplay even extremely strong guys. So I'm like here, you're not supposed to do that. Obviously, he's threatening checkmating too, so I cannot follow my normal plan, right? That would be just all she wrote here. I have to be careful with my opponent's threats, but that is the biggest, the most useful advice you can take, regardless of the opening you play. Every single time your opponent makes a move, trying to understand what's the point of that move. Of course, in some cases like this, it will be more obvious, but the point is, you have to do it every single time. Anyway, I'm like, you cannot do that. I just gonna take it. And he wanted to scare me to death so that I don't take it, but in fact I can and should do that. And after queen h6, it seems like I'm in trouble. He is attacking my pawn on f6, this rook on f8, and this rook is coming. So basically, no matter what I play here, rook e3, rook g3 seems to be a checkmating idea. But obviously I have thought about that. This is how chess works on a high level. You think what kind of an idea your opponent has, and then you try to calculate your moves and what's going to happen afterwards, and depending on that, you make the right solution, the move that seems to be the best one. And the sooner you're going to play like that, the sooner you're going to apply this thinking system to your games, the sooner you're going to get to 2000 elo and above. It's absolutely possible for you watching right now this video, if you're going to stop making the moves in chess without thinking what your opponent can do in response. So I played here queen e7 because this move brings a new piece into the defense, And now everything is protected, so after rook is free, I actually can play king h8. And guess what? My opponent just resigned here because he realized there is nothing he can do. He just gave up the bishop for nothing. He felt like he must do something extremely active, otherwise he's gonna lose. I have an extra pawn and a healthy position. So he did that, but it doesn't work. So this is a very solid opening and you cannot beat it just like that. But it's only the beginning, because in the same day, I have played against an extremely strong opponent, number 92 in the entire world, Leon Luke Mendonca. I'm playing here as black, and guess which opening I have played? Of course, the Philidor defense. I'm not afraid to play it against anyone. I have played it against Hikaru Nakamura himself in the title Tuesday and got a fantastic position. It was equal till the end of the day, and only with a few seconds on the clock and the deep endgame he tricked me. Nevertheless, this opening is fantastic, and I have played it against this monster, this youngster from India who is crushing everyone nowadays. He's in top 100 already and yeah, quickly progressing. So notice that he played a little bit differently. But that's the main advantage of this opening. You don't care what your opponent is doing. Notice I have made exactly the same moves. I don't care. Yes, I'm not obliged to play knight b to d7 because nobody is attacking that pawn. This is like a nice bonus, but I played it anyway in a few moves here. After h3 I played knight b d7 because the knight still belongs there. You never go to c6 because you want to have your pawn on c6. It stops this knight, it makes this knight a fool, like he cannot do anything with it. And then you are ready for your middle game plan. Let me show you how to do that. He plays rook to e1 and knight c5. You could have seen in the previous game I played knight b6, here I played knight c5 because this pawn is still not on d4, so you can be flexible, you have different ideas, you remember the 7 moves, and then you have ideas either to play in the center or to play on the side. My opponent played bishop a2 because probably already he was afraid of this move d5. d5 is like our dream in the Philidor. Whenever it becomes feasible, you always and always have to think about it and try to implement. So my opponents went back, but now I play bishop e6. Remember in the previous game that was one of the key ideas that black had. And here is as well, I implement it because, well, that bishop is obviously very strong along this diagonal, my bishop is not that great, so I want just to exchange it. He goes bishop e3, I just take it, and now this rook is very clumsy on a2. And I'm like, okay, I understand you're fainting 900 on chess.com, but like, spending just 12 seconds on 12 moves here, I have equalized the position completely. I don't have any problems. And I even prepared the move d5. So before that, he finally played d4, but that means he has wasted the tempo. Like he played d3 first and d4 next. You never want to do that. Still, of course, he has a little bit of an initiative here. So I brought my rook. And here is the moment I made the first mistake. And I also wanted to point out that I'm not a perfect player. And chances are high that you are not going to make all of the right moves in your games either. So nevertheless, this opening is fantastic. Even if you make those mistakes, it gives you a lot of opportunities. For example, I played here d5. Remember, I mentioned this is like a dream. We always want to try implement it. Well, in this particular moment, it's not that great tactically. So my opponent here could have, like, if he would have played everything perfect, instead of taking, he would play rook a to d1, allowing me to exchange everything, then he would get some advantage here, although it's not big. But the best case scenario for me was to play knight to d7, exchange this guy against this strong one, and then prepare the move d5, and then I don't have any problems at all. It's 0-0-0. Anyway, I'm not perfect, I'm playing d5, then I'm taking everything here, and again, this position is completely equalized. And this is the kind of position you get against an extremely strong player, basically one of the best in the world, if you play the Philidor defense and you don't even know that much of theory, you just understand where the pieces belong. Because I have seen this position after the move d3 more or less for the first time in my life. Yes, maybe in some blitz games I have played it, but like my opponent played it, but I never studied it necessarily because it doesn't make a lot of sense. White can play d4, so that's what you focus your attention on. Nevertheless, I played very good here up to this point because I knew, where the pieces belong. Here, though, both of us have started to make horrible mistakes. And I also wanted to show it to you, first of all, to illustrate that even 2900 ELO rated players, 2700 ELO rated players on chess.com can make those horrible, horrible mistakes. It all started here. My opponent played rook to e4, and I said, well, I need to do something about this bishop. And so I played bishop c5. And the idea seems to be good. I want to exchange this guy, but the problem is he plays rook e1. Again, always and always think before you make your move what your opponent is gonna do in response. And the problem is my desirable move bishop takes d4 runs into checkmate in 2. I mean, this is so horrible, and I cannot do that, and so I kind of panicked here and played bishop f8, which is a horrible move. You never want to make a pair of moves with the same piece in a row because you're just wasting time. Moreover, the reason why it's so bad for me, it's +4, like completely winning for white, is that he can play bishop takes g7. And in a blitz game, this move, like the main problem is it never even gets to your head. Even if you're one of the best players in the world, like my opponent was here, didn't play it. Once you see it, yes, it seems easy. Rook e7 here, threatening checkmate, there is nothing you can do. You have to give up your queen. And if you take with the king, then yeah, that is just a checkmate. And if you don't take it at all, then that is a huge pawn you have won. The king is naked, and yeah, this is basically game over. But my opponent played h4, he's just a human being, and again, I even provoke him to make that move bishop takes g7, because both of us were completely blind that that is even possible. So yeah, you see, everybody makes mistakes, nobody is perfect. I mean, unless you're Hans Neumann or something. But I played here queen c6, and finally I'm ready to fight against those threats because I have brought more defenders. This queen will help me now to deal with my opponent's threats. So now I'm playing queen f6. I bring the queen even closer to my defense. He plays queen to g3, creating that threat of this bishop g5. So I play h6, I want to cover that, then I play h5, even though the engine is not that happy, but it splits. I mean, I'm creating threads, that's what you're supposed to do. And you see that it's making life more complicated for your opponent, even if objectively it's not the best move, but especially in the blitz and rapid time controls, you want to apply as much pressure for your opponent because that is what makes it difficult. The right move was queen to e2, but it's not that simple to understand, like leave that pawn unprotected, not easy. And he played queen h3, and then I am again good to go. He played bishop c7. Rook to d7 wasn't that great because he could have played rook to e8 and create some checkmating ideas. But he played bishop a5, and this I feel like a very instructive moment, because in such a position when there are queens on the board, all you need to focus on is the checkmating attack. You don't need to care about those pawns. You should even forget about the existence of those pawns. And both of us have made such a mistake, because first he took this pawn, then I played rook d1, I understood, okay, I need some counterplay, I need to create threats, and that was correct. I exchanged the rooks and brought my rook. He goes back to e8, but now in a moment where I just need to create those threats, just give him a check, just bring your queen here, create checkmate in 1, this is what you're supposed to do. Instead, I have taken that pawn on b2. Like, who cares about this pawn? Please never do that in your games. Try to focus on what is really important, because this pawn, like maybe in the deep endgame, that would make a difference. But now, he plays bishop c7, he wants to checkmate me in a few moves. That pawn doesn't play any role at all. And so that was a huge waste of time. Yet I have still played rook d2 here, the only move. He played bishop d6, I cannot take it, the queen will take it thanks to the fin, and I'm lost. So there is no way for me to lose the bishop. And I have just 22 seconds on the clock. And I'm like about to resign basically, but then I like first, wait. let me try to attack. Let me try to put some pressure, create those threats. Let me try to checkmate my opponent in the end of the day. So I played rook d1 here and queen b1. Finally, I did that, and this checkmate is coming. Even though he picks up the entire bishop with a check, it's still not enough. You see that is equal, but only if he finds this move. The only move. All of the other moves are losing. Of course, checkmate in one is a threat, so he has to make space for his king. But he made the wrong move. He played queen e5 because at the same time he wanted to create a threat, checkmating threat. And that is, of course, all cool. But it doesn't work tactically. And with only 8 seconds on the clock, it seems impossible. But I'm winning this game. Rook h1, being a bishop down. I'm playing now queen to g6, all great moves. Because if you play king to f3, this is the key difference. If the queen would be on f4, queen g4 check would not be possible. But now it is. And he's just losing his queen to say the least. And it's even a checkmate in a few moves because I have c4, queen d1, and finally queen b3 checkmate. That is crazy. But queen to g5, that is what he played instead because he saw that problem. And I was like, I can take that bishop, let me grab it. And I was so excited that I can even take that rook on f8 that I completely forgot about the fact that it's a checkmate in 2. I have 6 seconds. Seems like checkmate is my only chance. Just checkmate in 2, but I wasn't even looking at that direction. I was completely in a panicking mode. I thought a few seconds before that I'm completely losing. After that bishop d6 move, I'm losing a bishop. But now I'm completely winning, so I'm like, give me my rook. I want to grab the rook. And here I wanted to activate all of my pieces somehow. I was completely panicking with 2 seconds, both of us. I wanted to exchange queens, obviously. And so here, even if I give up my rook, I still went for this pawn endgame because nobody can give me checks anymore. Nobody can create problems for my king. And of course, the position is still completely winning, even here. And with 0.3 seconds, in the end, I'm winning this game. I'm beating number 92 in the world. Not every day you see something like that. And of course, both of these amazing games were possible thanks to the Philidor defense. In this playlist, you're gonna see more games in terms of how you deal with all of the variations. I play live and share all of the ideas with you. And if you want to dive even deeper into that, 10-day opening master course is everything you need. Complete lifetime holistic opening repertoire, both for white and for black. The link is in the description.